Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. How is everybody doing out there? I am Brandon Alvarado, the Scarlet Fan here, and I am so excited to be back here live on the Amateur Otaku Podcast and live stream to talk anime with all of you guys out there. I hope everybody's having an awesome night and are ready to talk some Darling in the Franxx with us. Now, I said us. So what do I mean by us? Well, of course, I am accompanied by the one, the only, the mad Isaac Wolf. What's up, dude?
Tired.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Okay. I don't understand the duality of your response. You simply said tired, you went monotone, and then you went ready to go. So what is it? Tired, ready to go? Has your body not decided where you're at right now?
Sorta.
Okay, cool. As long as we're clear. I'm excited, Isaac. Another episode of the Amateur Otaku. I love that we're doing this, our weekly thing, where we do our live stream and we engage with everybody out there that wants to talk anime with us. And we're covering brand new anime to us. And hopefully we're able to discuss it in a way that will intrigue people to try to discover it and see what's out there. Because there's a lot of cool anime out there. And I hope that we have the opportunity to keep talking about it. So welcome, guys, to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. Before we go into our topic of discussion tonight, we have a couple of things that we want to talk to about as an aftermath of the last pod / live stream. Last week we covered an amazing sci-fi thriller called It Invaded, and we had an amazing conversation, me and Isaac, about this anime. But we failed to do something that I think we failed to do for a while, and we want to apologize. And is we get so excited talking about awesome anime that we forget that a lot of people want to go watch it, but don't know where to go. So we have given ourselves the following task, that whenever we actually take the time to talk to you about an anime, we're going to take the time to also tell you where you can watch it. So I'm going to start, and then Isaac is going to talk about where he watched it, because for people that do not know, I'm in the United States. Isaac is actually all the way in Sweden. So there's all these there's all these things of region-locked areas and certain streaming services that are not available in that part of Europe. So Isaac actually has to be very creative to where he finds content. And I know there's a lot of people that listen to this pod that are probably in the same boat as Isaac. And there's a lot of things also that I cannot watch unless I buy it or spend the money or, I don't know, go VPN on it. So apologies to everybody that asked us where to watch the show. We're going to talk about it now, and we're going to make it a staple and a point in every episode here on forward to always let you guys know where you guys can find this anime so you can enjoy it for yourselves. So let's start with ID Invaded. So ID Invaded, at least in America, where I'm at, I believe it's available on Crunchyroll. And I know for a fact it's available in Funimation. Funimation is the streaming app that I have an account with. I really don't use Crunchyroll. I mostly watch anime on Funimation, or I watch it in Hulu, which Hulu is one of the biggest hubs in anime after Funimation, because Netflix has a lot of original or a lot of content in anime that is like exclusive streaming on Netflix in America. So yeah, if you want to watch It Invaded, definitely on Funimation. That's the place to go. Isaac, where did you catch ID Invaded?
I catched ID Invaded on Wakamin, which is a show for the Scandinavia. I can't see it on Crunchyroll, which I have an account on here in Sweden. So maybe it's sort of like they don't have it because Wakanim, so to speak. But it could have in Crunchyroll could have it in countries sort of like England, Germany, or that, since that anime is Scandinavia, like I said.
Okay. And whenever we actually go ahead to thank you, Leo from Geekly Goods. He said that he's enjoyed Innovated. I'm really happy you're enjoying the show. It's an amazing show, but we're actually going to go ahead whenever, as you guys know, we record the live stream and then we process it into a podcast episode and we put it on our website on Anchor, and which goes to every streaming service: Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. It goes to every popular streaming service, but we also put it on YouTube. So when we put the new episode on YouTube and when we put the new episode on the podcast, we're going to make sure that on the description of the episode, we're going to put the website where you can actually watch this show. And Isaac actually found this link that I'm not even going to try to tell you guys how to find this link, but there's a link where this website it works good for international markets, and it tells you where you can watch it. So what we're going to do is with every episode, we're going to go to the site and we're going to go directly to where you can watch, where it tells you can watch a specific anime that we're covering, and we're going to add that link to the description. So whenever you guys are ready to watch it, after listening to the pod, you can just click on the link, find the streaming service that is available to you, and watch the show. Because at the end of the day, we want to talk about the show with you. So, yes, thank you for sticking with us, even when we didn't tell you. But now we're going to make sure you guys know where to watch the show. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Jeremy. Jeremy Rodriguez back in Puerto Rico. He's like my brother. He actually listened to the pod. He listened to the It Invaded pod, Isaac, and he really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So he left an awesome comment for us. So I'm really happy, Jeremy, that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you're able to discover It Invaded and tell us what your take from it is. Because now we got you excited to watch it. Now we want to hear what you think of it after you watch it, because that's what the Amateur Otaku is all about. We want people to discover anime. That's why most of the times when we talk anime here on this show, depending on the show and how old it is, we'll be very spoilery about it. But more than anything, the reason we talk about anime on the show is because we want to pique your interest. We want you to become interested and attracted to that material and give it a chance and explore it and experience it for yourself. So that people that have never started this journey of anime start, and those that would simply enjoy it, join us to enjoy awesome stuff. So, Isaac,
Yes, shout out to Mike Thomas as well from Norway. I can't talk right now.
Ooh, Mike, my friend Mike Thomas. That's awesome, dude. How you doing, my friend? Thank you. We love it too. I'm really happy that a lot of people are enjoying the format. Isaac, we've been talking about doing YouTube for a long time, haven't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really excited for actually getting to do this. So, Isaac, are you ready to talk Darling and the Franxx?
Yeah, I am.
So, I've talked a lot because I'm mostly the one that does a lot of the housekeeping stuff. So, Isaac, let's do this. Darling and the Franxx, produced by Cloverworks, which used to be known as A1 Pictures, produced by Trigger. Trigger is the one that did Kill la Kill, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the animation style kind of reminds me of that a little bit. It's not as raw or scratchy as Kill la Kill's style is. It's like Darling and the Franxx, a lot more refined, probably because of the futuristic tone of it. I don't know who the director is. I have to do more research for the director for Darling and the Franxx. But I've talked enough. Isaac, let's start with you. Darling and the Franxx. I know I've talked to you about the show a lot. Give me your first impression. You've seen it. Talk to me.
That sums about it.
I don't know. All I heard is utter disgust. but I would like the disgust to be expressed.
Perfectly frank.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's, how should I put it? It is if someone saw Evangelion and said, "I want to write a story like that," but did some writing on its own, send it to some publisher, said, "We can publish, we can do that, but you have to be more page worthy." If you know what I mean.
You said age-worthy?
Okay, I might just say that it's a more horny version of Evangelion instead of.
He dropped the H word. So you think that this is a hornier version of Evangelion? Is that really what you just said?
Considering a specific episode that occurred, yeah.
Okay, I can understand part of your stance. Now, is this where your impression rests solely? Like, this is your impression? It's a horny version of Evangelion. That's it. That's your take.
As a TLDR version, yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. So maybe it's my fault because I submerge myself into the depths of anime and I try and find what's interesting. Now, it's funny because for those that do not know, or for those that have listened to our episode on Neon Genesis Evangelion, it's funny because I think we're going to be in the same page because Isaac doesn't like Evangelion, the series.
That's an understatement.
But I love it. I love Evangelion. But it's funny, too, because I love Evangelion for the themes that it explores. Isaac hates Evangelion because of the themes. I don't know. I keep forgetting why you hate it. I think it's because I like it. But to those that want to know what we think about Evangelion, the episode is now live on the YouTube channel as well. Because as you guys know, I've been going to the archive and we've been publishing old podcast episodes into YouTube format so that people can access them in a different way, in a different light as well. So, very important, guys. So that's your take. You didn't like it. Horny Evangelion. Okay.
And it's like you have someone on your side when it comes to Evangelion, at least.
Well, let's see. We're not talking about Evangelion today. Don't distract me, Isaac.
It's always to distract you.
Or I know that's what you live for. You live to distract me. But at the same time, it's funny because now I feel that every time I talk about this show now, you're going to talk to me and you're going to keep saying Evangelion, and then I'm going to think I'm talking about Evangelion.
Exactly.
Okay, so, and no, Isaac, you're not going to make this an end of Evangelion discussion. I will not allow you to do this to me. This will not happen. Okay. I hate that movie.
We all know that.
Okay, so you say it's a horny version of Evangelion. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it. I can listen to that. Now, here's my take of it. Similar to Evangelion, the main characters are kids. Kids, you have similar themes, so I'm gonna take advantage of what you said there. And yes, Evangelion and Darling in the Franxx have similar themes. There's mechas that can only be used by kids. I'm sorry. There are mechas that can only be piloted by kids. Adults manipulating kids for their own use. World-shattering stakes. Imprisonment, depression, feelings of loneliness. Like all those things are explored in different ways. But what I think... Because I think what I like about it the most, which is something that I see in Evangelion a lot, is that I see in Darling in the Franxx, translate it into its own voice, is this idea of a person or a child or a being or any being, whether it's a human being, animal, or alien or whatever, is the idea of the search for meaning, the search of purpose, right? And that is a theme that you see from beginning to end, especially in the show. I like the dystopian take on the idea of survival in the future. I like the idea of how the fear of death literally drives humanity to immortality, but immortality or looking for immortality literally destroys humanity in different ways. I like how they explore these ideas, and I like the romance. I like the relationships. I like the contrast of humans, adults that act like robots without agency, without emotions, and without fear, and the contrast of the children, which are discovering what it is to be human through emotions. And this is something that, even though the imagery is extremely sexual, because I'm not gonna lie, like the way that the mechas are piloted is it's pure sexual imagery. The whole thing with the whole relationship with Zero Two and Hero, and how Zero Two is first presented, it's meant to be a shock, where you are presented with this character that is a beautiful young woman, but she's not a woman, she's a creature. And that idea of that whole Beauty and the Beast angle, I like it a lot. I don't know. I found it to be a refreshing take on a love story with all these sci-fi and Armageddon like twists in it that make it a fresh watch to me. Like I really enjoyed when it comes, like you always say in the podcast, Isaac, that you love personal stories. You like stories that have this very clear protagonist, and you see the journey of this character. I see that on this show, but I see the idea of humanity and how, when humanity is controlled for a nefarious purpose, it dies. But when humanity is left free and emotions are allowed to exist, humanity flourishes, even though it can be disastrous, even though it can lead to hurt, to pain. And how pain and how love and how hate, how all those feelings are part of the human experience. And I like how this show explores that, because you're talking about, like for example, you have kids, right? That when you find the kids and you find them, you've kind of learned that they live for the approval of this figure they call Papa, right? They call him Dad, and he's supposed to be this godlike figure. But all these adults, or all these people that are older than them, are looked like these magnificent beings or creatures that they have to work for. Or they have to fight these monsters and risk their lives for. And it's I don't know. It's like I find it very interesting, the fact that these kids were created to fight for the adults, because the adults can no longer defend themselves, because they've lost their humanity. Because that's what's happening. That's the whole angle that, to me, shocked me of the show, especially now watching it a second time. That is the idea that when we give up our humanity, we lose the ability to defend ourselves. We lose the ability to survive. Even though we might still be alive in a way, we're really dead in the ways that matter. And I know I went on a freaking acid trip just now of analogies. I'm sorry.
You're good.
But King, does it make sense what I'm trying to say?
Honestly, I think you're 100% right in what you're trying to explore and all that. I am not so sure that I agree with you on terms of the execution because, well, how should I put it? While I didn't, while I couldn't stand Ava for a reason that we don't need to refresh ourselves here, I just the way they did focus it on here that was it was and you know I'm a big fan of character interactions,
Mm-hmm.
character involvement, and all character evolution, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I was bored. I was literally bored because there was nothing. The characters, even the main characters, for me, was a nothing burger. They weren't bad that I was angry at them. They were just stereotypical shells that you can see almost everywhere. And if you want me to get if you want me to be invested with old people, be invested with them, you need to give us some meat, not just potatoes. What is it with me and food analogy?
Bro, food analogies are your thing, bro. It's like for some reason you have a setup in your brain that when you're seeking for deep wisdom, you run into a buffet. It's not a bad thing. I just find it very. You know what, Isaac? I'm gonna say it. It's very charming of you.
You get what I'm saying? I mean,
I can
I get
respect.
I get where you're going for. I
Yeah.
like the idea of exploring it, but the way they're handling and writing these characters, or it's just underwhelming because they want to deconstruct a character, sort of like, well, Ava again. You know, to go back to it, but
Well,
I dare even say that Ava did a better job to deconstruct, even though they didn't really deconstruct and construct and all that jazz. Because while the characters didn't annoy me, so to speak, they were it just they were a nothing burger for me. And sure, the only one that truly have some form of change or the I argue that the only one that has some form of change throughout the series is 02. And she went from the creepy girlfriend standard uh, that made me uncomfortable because, quite frankly, I have had a similar situation like that.
Mhm.
I was not comfortable whatsoever. uh, I mean, it is a show that I think it should maybe been in the oven a little longer. Maybe even I know that this is a recurring theme of mine, but maybe somewhat longer so you can explore the characters a bit more. I don't know, but this is done in a way that I can't be mad, but I can't be woohoo. This is awesome
so,
either.
so you're simply you don't hate it, you don't love it, you just saw it. That's it.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, that is fair. That is a fair that is a fair observation. Maybe I'm a sucker for anything that's interesting. Now, that being said, I think we have talked about anime that I don't like. So people should know there's anime that I don't like out there. Okay, I'm not a sucker for all anime. I mean, I maybe will watch anything, but man, I can't say that I agree. I saw, especially now, like this is the second time that I've seen the series as a whole, and I was able to appreciate a lot more, a lot of the moments, especially the character moments that occur, and certain things that I had a little bit of trouble with the first time I saw it. I was able to enjoy it and appreciate it a lot more. Um, but in a nutshell, so Darling in the Franxx, um, because I kind of I just realized, Isaac, I never really gave out a summary, which is okay. Which is okay. We just started talking about it. But see, we talk about Evangelion, and you guys have heard us that apparently Evangelion's our go-to. But when talking about Darling, is because there's a lot of parallels. They're both sci-fi shows. Mechas are at this core of the show in terms of the battle and the action. Um, Children, the relationships, the power relationships between children and adults play a big factor. So I never really
The
made
connection, connection between robots and the kid is necessary to work.
yeah, like I didn't make the Evangelion connection till you said it, so I really appreciate you doing that. Um, maybe
Also,
that's maybe that particular relationship is one of the reasons why this show was so popular when it came out. Even though a lot of people, and not only that, a lot of people have a lot of have problems with the ending of it too. So that's kind of funny. Like everybody had problem with the ending of Evangelion. A lot of people have problems with the ending of the show.
Series 2 is very reminiscent in terms of what role she has.
What was that? What'd you say?
In terms of her role at the end of it is very similar to Rey and in Evangelion, considering what happens at the end.
Yes, is very similar, but a lot cleaner. So,
Um,
a lot more tame, I would say.
there, there is not a perfume commercial here.
Oh boy. Um, the Instrumentality Project. No, but yeah, I can't say that I agree, Isaac. I actually enjoyed this show quite a bit. Now, let's talk about. So you said there's not a lot of character development, but at the same time, there's a lot of development with individual characters in different scenarios. So when you mean, are you talking about development as a group, as individual characters, or are you saying that maybe they focused on too many characters that they probably didn't develop more the ones that you want to develop? Could that be the issue?
I don't. I think this might sound weird and contradictable, but I honestly think they should have taken a cue. One cue I think they should have taken from Eva. It's having a small group as possible, considering this isn't supposed to be a Dragon Ball sized show.
Okay.
So they should have kept the cast minimal, and it's sort of like I talked with my sister that watched it with me, and it was sort of like um, for it were Zero Two, Hero, Ichigo, and Goro.
Mm-hmm.
Those characters was really the only one necessary for the entire plot. The rest of them could actually just been written out. Yes, I know that they are there to express some other themes and all that, but you could explore a theme that what's the plant chick's name again?
The what? I'm sorry.
She loves taking care of the plants, and Mitsuru.
Oh, Kokoro.
They could just they could have her and for example, they could use the two of them going through that phase instead, and just focus, like I said, focus on more on those characters instead of just splitting it up. I don't know.
Well, I have a theory, Isaac.
What you see
And
what you're saying?
no. You have a perfectly reasonable insight because one of the things that makes Ava such a fantastic show is that you really have what 4 or 5 main characters for the spans of 26 episodes, and they really double down on the relationship between these small group of characters. And that's why by the end, even though I would say 90% of people hate Shinji, you still want to get in the machine, get in the pilot him. Okay, I'm sorry. We still want to see what the end of his story is because we're invested, right? We still want to see how far he goes, whether he feels humanity or not.
I hope that I followed the show just for I hope he will die at the end. That's me.
That's what I call investment. So even if you're investing in hatred, Isaac, it is still investment because you didn't stop watching. So it did something, whether it's right or wrong. But then again, you're a mad doctor. So what do I know? Okay, what do I know? So, but look, I have a theory, and I am not a professional writer, but I'm an enthusiast, and I love stories. So I'm gonna put my storyteller hat on, Isaac. You want to go on a trip with me? You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Part of the reason that I believe that they couldn't do a smaller group, okay, is because in contrast with Evangelion, Asuka and Shinji, for example, are supposed to resemble humanity. Because at the end of the day, that's like the relationship that is supposed to determine what's going to happen with the human race, blah, 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 especially after the activation of the Human Instrumentality Project. Here, humanity is supposed to be explored through the guise of a community. And those children represent the community. And you cannot explore a sense of community unless you have a group that's big enough. So that's part of the reason. Because of the size of the group, whether detrimental or not to the story, you're able to have the amount of mechas that you had that were all pretty different. You're able to have the idea that each of them explored the idea of relationship different, because you're able to see friendship, you're able to see friendships between boys and girls as a group separately, relationship between boys and girls, whether it's romantic or friendships. You even see windows into homosexuality and how it is considered a normal expression of affection. You know what I mean? Because it is explored with the character of Ikuno. So you see all these facets that the size of the group allowed them to explore it that way. Because yes, they're trying to tell one story, but you can tell the story in different angles. To me, they had enough episodes because at the end of the day, you do want to see each character develop. But this is not a show about individual characters. This is a show about connections. Is about a show about relationships, which is why the focus is on the interaction between the different characters, not necessarily just the development of the characters as individuals. So that's why you have a little bit of development of the hero in 02, but then the focus for the next 2-3 episodes, it's all about the interaction between them and how the little development that each of them had individually affects their relationship moving forward. So that's what I got from the show. Now, Um, so that's the focus. It's all about relationships. It's all about connections.
Honestly, I think you're 100% right that this is what you're trying to do.
You know, it's all about the connection between the characters. And when you look at it from that angle, that's, to me, that's why it works. Because all you're seeing is microcosms of different kinds of relationships. And like you have, and then not only that, when you get to episode 19, and what I'm gonna say is a spoiler. Spoiler alert. Remember that in episode 19, which to me, I'm so surprised that because episode 19 is one of those episodes that it's all backstory, right? It's Dr. Frank's telling of everything that's happened, of history, right?
Yeah.
I am so surprised they were able to compact so much explicit detail in only 24 minutes. And it's one of those episodes, you know how some episodes have so much backstory that you feel tired by just watching it?
Yeah.
This episode told so much information, but it did it in a flow that was very easy to digest. And that's one of my favorite episodes. So it literally tells you how his research allowed humanity to discover immortality, how immortality destroyed the ability of humans to reproduce. So there you have immortality. The cost was reproduction. And then because of the arrival of the Klaxosaurs, because just like Ava, there are beings, there are giant monsters that they have to face to defend the world. Klaxosaurs arise. You cannot have adults piloting the FranXX because there's no reproductive organs, which means there's no hormones, which means there's no emotions, which means there's no connection. You see what I'm saying?
I'm not saying that you're wrong in your analogy.
No. I'm not trying. What I'm saying is the idea, like how far the idea goes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I can even say that I like the idea that they are want to do.
But I get how, but at the same time, I get how that left you wanting, because you actually like individual development.
Yeah. It just felt so lackluster and split out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, and I get it because one of those things, like you can do only so much in a story. You know what I mean? If they spend way too much time on one specific person's individual development, then you kind of lose the thread of the idea of the main theme of community, of connection. They only did the individual development enough to favor the main theme of community.
Maybe then they should have just ripped the mecha part out and just focus on the children interaction part, because that's something that you could do with connection without the mecha part. I mean,
well, you are 100% right. But listen, here's what I find interesting, and here's why I love sci-fi.
I too.
And you and I both know that the best thing about sci-fi is that good sci-fi, to a degree, it's all about exploration and symbols and stuff like that, right? So these kids, because they are raised to be weapons, right? They're raised to be weapons. They have emotions only to be weapons, only to actually use the mechas, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk. So they pilot the mechas together in pairs of boys and girls in very specific positions, and that's all I'm going to say. Bouncing Bella. So they don't know what they're doing, but they know there's connection. There's there's a hormonal connection that occurs that allows them to become one and be able to pilot the mecha. But I think that is the device that the writers decided to use as the gateway to the more serious topic they were trying to do. Who knows? Maybe you're right. Maybe this anime, the seed that inspired this anime was, I want to do a tribute to Ava. Who knows? Anybody can say that this is a tribute to Ava. Anybody. Maybe that's what it wanted to be. And but it wanted to explore other things, so it used the mecha symbolism. They used that as a way of getting you through the door. Because here's the thing, you and I both know that this is the kind of show that takes some story decisions that you technically don't expect, because it starts off as it feels like a very generic boy meets girl anime, trouble, blah, blah, blah. But then it tries to be super deep, super quickly, very differently. Like it gets to a point where it really makes all the mecha action sit in the backseat. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It's just
I'm gonna say I do agree with you. Like, I think there was a world where they could have just done, the show could have been just them living in this place.
Maybe it's just me and my disinterest in mecha anime.
Well, that's
you know me. I'm not that biggest fan of mecha anime.
I don't disagree with you. So you would say that if this wasn't a mecha anime, you maybe would have enjoyed it more? Like, do you like, for example, if, I don't know, but you know what? I find it even funny, because let's think about this. What could the kids do? Because remember, there was no purpose for children anymore, right?
Yeah.
In this dystopian world that they discovered, that they're immortal. They don't need anything. There's no need for connections, because they have machines that can generate these virtual worlds that allow them to feel happiness, that stimulate their their brain areas or whatever. I don't know the jargon, to feel happy or to feel stress relief or whatever. The only reason they made children or cloned children, because they can't reproduce, because I think they get to the point where they say they don't even have working organs. It's crazy, because of the whole immortality thing. What would they have children for? What would they do?
Subjects. Test subjects.
For what? They're immortal. They're not hungry. They don't grow hungry. They don't need anything.
Yeah, they can do kids for create kids for slave labor. They can create kids. They could just experiment and continue, and maybe have the human race evolve even further. Sort of like.
Well, you know what?
You can. They could use something like The Island. What's that movie with Scarlett Johansson and McGregor? They play clones. It's a Michael Bay movie, but you know what I mean. You know that.
I love how you put the under thing. It is a Michael Bay movie, so don't expect too much. But
one of his better though. But
hey,
you can have used them as guinea pigs for to evolve humans even further. They could use them having a slave labor, because the grown-ups are not able to do specific things.
You know what's interesting though? As we keep talking about it, It made me think about another sci-fi trope that I find very interesting.
Which one?
That the best sci-fi worlds, the best worlds that the best writers of sci-fi, um, okay, that was weird. The best sci-fi worlds that I've seen, I are worlds that are self-sustained within themselves,
Mm.
and that's what makes them unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for example, now that I think about it, the world of Darling and the Franks, you eliminate one item, and the entire notion of that world being a thing that functions falls apart.
I don't know if you use one of the reasons one of
Oh no, but I'm not saying in terms of what you could use the children for, because
I
that will be us. That will be us transferring the story to something different. But like the world that they made, like like the story. I mean, you can tell this kind of story in different settings, and I'm not debating that. But like every element of that world feeds off each other, allowing the world to be full and being something reasonable to digest. You know what I mean? Like it's a world that it's easy to go in and explore, as opposed to it being abstract. I don't know. I think I'm going on a tangent. But like every little thing of this world exists for a reason, and the reason is for it to work. Like the mechas won't work without the children. The children are there for the mechas, because the mechas are there to fight the Klaxosars, and the adults can't do it because they don't have this, and they don't have this because they did this. Like it's very well thought out. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's very well thought out. It's very well constructed, and it's like this closed loop of ideas and factors that influence each other, and that's why that world is what it is. And the best sci-fi worlds are a world that are like that, and the best sci-fi stories are when you're presented with a world that feels like a closed loop, but the idea of the story is breaking that loop into new ground, which is what the show does with the idea of restoring humanity by letting go of immortality. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know why I get deep and I feel like I throw myself into a pit of weird thoughts, and you just let me drown. That sounds about right.
I
Right?
don't know. Maybe I get what you're saying, but
I'm not trying to convince you. What kind? Okay, actually, I'm lying. I am trying to convince.
maybe it's just bubbling in my head, so to speak, because
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just like the show, but
yeah, that's okay.
no, I
That
know.
I'm not mad about the show at all. It's just
Yeah, yeah. It's not your cup of tea. That's perfectly fine. I I find it interesting how when I started looking for reviews of the show right after I saw it the first time. Like a lot of people had issues with the ending, because the ending is like the corniest thing you could ever see, especially in a sci-fi show.
yeah.
Yeah, it's corny and nauseum, but I was happy with it. I can I was satisfied with the story enough that I was like, don't worry, I'll take the corny. Give it to me. I'll take it. um,
It. I mean, they could technically do sort of like a spin-off continuation if they want with
yeah, yeah,
that series and with going through with no spoilers.
yeah. Definitely, they could spin off, but I don't know. I feel like this is the kind of show that I like because it's because it's because this is what it is. Like I don't need more story. Like I've seen enough of Darling and the Franks, and I'm happy with that with what I got.
Yeah.
Similar to Watchmen on HBO, similar to Ava. Like I'm a good. What I saw filled the cup,
Aren't they?
and I hate End of Evangelion. The
Aren't they?
series is the real ending, and I'm saying it here. The series ending of Evangelion is the real ending, not
They
that track of a movie.
creator said the end of Evangelion, so that's a fact. And aren't they doing more Ava movies / series, or am I misremembering?
I don't need to agree with the director, and I forgot what you just said, Isaac. What?
Yeah, aren't they doing more Ava content?
I wouldn't be surprised if someone's doing something. I think that's another. I think that's another anime property similar to Akira, that like they've been talking about adaptations for like ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even think Akira's gonna happen. I mean, supposedly Taika Waititi was gonna do Akira, but I don't know. I don't know.
And the live action stuff. That's a story. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But yeah, I mean, Darling in the Franxx is a very interesting sci-fi mecha show. Isaac told you his feelings about it. You saw me go into a deep well of thoughts that I'm still drowning in them. But I think in a nutshell, it's safe to say that I really like Darling in the Franxx. I think it's a fantastic show about connection, about how what it is to be human, and I don't know. I think that I was fascinated with the fact that I was able to get a very interesting sci-fi show and a very nuanced take on a Beauty and the Beast story that I really enjoyed. You know, I rarely see a story like that where the prince becomes the monster to be with the person that he loves. And that's, to me, is charming and beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know.
I was waiting for you to just take all my heart and just throw it into the.
Yeah, I don't have any hard feelings about it.
Yeah.
On the spectrum.
Yeah. So Isaac, where did you watch Darling and the Franxx? Where did you watch it?
I watched it on Crunchyroll here in Sweden.
Okay. They have Darling in the Franxx in Funimation. I did not watch it in Funimation though, because I gotta say this: for as much love as I've given this show, because it has a beautiful romance story between multiple characters, interesting character development and relationships. I'm not huge on romance animes, but I love the fact that I was able to get a good dose of romance anime and sci-fi anime in one spot.
Yet you love Weathering with You and Your Name.
Oh well, okay, fair, but it's not like I've watched a lot of them. And I still have to talk about Dr. FranXX, by the way, because I got to say a comment on that, so hopefully I won't forget. But I watched it. I didn't watch it in Funimation because Funimation only has the dubbed version of Darling. And ladies and gents, I gotta say, the dub of this show is horrendous. The voices are like, you know how the best dub is a dub that doesn't, you know how you listen to a dub and it feels natural sometimes, and then like really bad dub feels literally like a voiceover, like it's overpowering the scene. You know what I mean? Like someone didn't calibrate the voices or the volume of the voiceover. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this one feels like that, and not only that, some of the best dub that I've seen, you kind of see a certain resemblance between the tone and delivery between the original Japanese voice actors and the American counterpart. You know what I mean? There's
Watch English dub didn't have access to it, so I can't comment on that.
No, you're good. But you can agree in the dub that you've listened of other animes, like there's the best ones is where you kind of sense there's a sense of synergy between what the Japanese actor did. Like you see a lot in Studio Ghibli movies, like the synergy in the voice acting between the original Japanese and the original voice acting. You can see the care that was taken.
We are going on a deep end now, buddy. We should continue.
Yeah, but watch it if you guys can watch this show. Watch the sub version because the Japanese voice acting is fantastic. But yeah, I watched it in Hulu, which is in America, but they have it on Hulu too. So if you have a subscription to Hulu, you can watch Darling in the Franxx there. If you have Funimation and you're okay with the dub, you can watch it there if you don't want to read subtitles. But you know what I liked about like the biggest sci-fi twist that to me was pretty interesting. The whole mission of Dr. FranXX. Like,
what do you want to think about now?
The fact that first he lived for his research, and then he found out that his research led to technically the end of humanity. And in the middle of humanity's fight for survival, even though they had lost what made them human, his plan was to allow these kids to develop as the last hope of humanity by allowing them to exist. Like these kids were the cure to humanity because they were able to grow with everything that makes them human. And that was like his gift or his way of trying to find redemption, because he knows that it was his research that led to the immortality and led to all that. But he created 02 and he allowed these kids to be this special test group for that purpose, to allow humanity to begin anew. So to a degree, he's like the villain and the hero of this. He's like the villain and anti-hero of the story. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that he looks like a weird grandpa RoboCop.
No comment.
No. RoboCop FranXX in a theater near you. Oh, or Grandpa Robo? I don't know.
Yeah, no comment on that, even though you can argue that this is something I say, even though I don't contribute to the question, but I answer the question at the same time.
I'm bad at puns. That's your thing, bro. I don't... That is your thing. But there you have it, guys. Isaac was meh on Darling. I loved and enjoyed Darling and the FranXX. I don't own a lot of physical media, but this is one of those shows that I would purchase. So go watch it for yourselves. It begins if you want the meat of it or the sci-fi good stuff. I think most of the sci-fi dive, Isaac, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the sci-fi dive happens like after episode 7 and 8, right?
Yeah, my memory serves correct, yes.
Because I know that like the first 6 episodes, it's full on mecha anime, like full on. It feels like a shonen mecha anime, and it's not till like you get to episodes 7, 8, 9 where you start getting a lot more of spending a lot more time with the kids in the communal home and in their daily lives and routines a lot more, that you start going into all the connection and relationships. But it's actually not a bad watch. I mean, it's 24 episodes, right? It's not that long. So it's something that you can watch relatively quickly. You can binge it if you want. And I know that you have your feelings, Isaac, but was this a kind of show that you wanted to stop watching, or you at least wanted to see where it was going?
Honestly, if like I said, I'm just about this. If we weren't going to talk about it, I don't know if I would have continued it after.
Okay. So it's one of those things. I think it's the kind of show that after, if you are not grabbed, like Isaac made a good point. If it wasn't because we're going to cover on the show, he wasn't going to watch it. He wasn't going to complete watching it. What is a fair assessment? Not everybody's gotta like everything I like. Isaac, I hate you now. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, you're going to curse at me after we watching Puppet Princess for the commentary.
You always are. Why do you always threaten me with horrible anime? Why do you do this?
The reason out of the
And why do I love you for it? Okay, so Puppet Master. That's gonna be crazy. But so Isaac was mad about it. I loved it. I would like to say that in the first 2 to 3 episodes, you have the opportunity of being interested in the relationship between Hero and 02. If you do not become interested in 02 or Hero or their relationship within the first couple of episodes, I don't think this show is going to do it for you. But if you are drawn to that relationship, you're in for a treat. That's a fair assessment, right?
Yeah,
right.
It's that romance is probably what makes a break a show for
mm-hmm. Right.
And I weren't that big of a fan of 02 at the beginning.
Yeah.
At the beginning, so maybe that's also a reason that I'm not that much a fan of it.
It feels like this show checked a lot of boxes of things that don't make you happy, huh?
I don't like / indifferent on.
Okay. So Isaac, I think this has been an amazing episode, and we're ready to close. What do you think?
Yeah.
So go check it out in Crunchyroll if you're international, and go check out Darling in the Franxx on Crunchyroll if you're international. If you're in the States, check it out on Funimation. Check it out on Hulu. It's there as well. On Hulu, I believe in both options, you do need a subscription to be able to watch it. But there's a lot of great content on Hulu and Funimation, and a lot of times they have free trials. If you haven't used your free trial yet, this is the kind of show that if you like it, get a subscription. A lot of times a subscription in Hulu with commercials, it's like probably $7 US. It's only $8 US a subscription in Funimation. And on Funimation, you can watch Boku no Hero Academia. You can watch. I think I saw Hellsing there. We watch It Invaded there. There's a lot of amazing anime on that site. So there's a lot of great stuff to watch. So Isaac, I think this is it for Amateur Otaku tonight. Where can we find you in the interwebs, my brother?
You can find my works at Woven Entertainment, and you can find me at Emblemania, as it says on the handle.
Awesome. On Twitter. And you can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52. And you can follow the podcast on Amateur Otaku Pod on Twitter. You can go into our YouTube channel, The Amateur Otaku. You can also write us your thoughts or suggestions on amateurOtakuRTF@gmail.com. If you like what we're doing what we're doing here on this channel, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends, click on the bell so that way you don't miss any of our live stream. We do live streams of the Amateur Otaku Podcast every Wednesday at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every live stream is converted into a podcast and a video episode on Fridays, and they go live. And every weekend, at some point in time, we always upload an additional episode from our archive of podcast recordings. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us again at the Amateur Otaku Podcast. I hope you guys loved our conversation of Darling in the Franxx, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Isaac, what are we talking about next week?
Bleach, the live action movie.
Yeah, we're finally going to talk about Shinigami, Soul Reapers, Bounce, and Hollows, and that's a complicated world, isn't it? But it's fun. So yes, Isaac was right.
Bleach one. Well,
What? What did you say?
it's not a bleak one, and I was trying to make a
boy.
name.
Oh boy. But yes, we're gonna talk Bleach. We're gonna talk a little bit about the anime, but our main topic is gonna be the live action adaptation of Bleach.
Weren't we waiting on the anime later on and just focusing on the movie then?
Yep. We're going to talk about the movie, and this movie is widely distributed by Netflix, right? Worldwide.
Exactly.
So go watch Bleach so that way you guys have something to talk about with us on the next podcast. If not, if you are apprehensive, because we know that a lot of live action adaptations are hit or miss, wait till our next episode so you can find out what we thought about the Bleach movie, so that way you know if it's something you should give a chance to. Cool. This is the Amateur Otaku signing out, and we will see you next time. Have it awesome, guys.
Hey,
Peace.